not gonna remember my face. She's not gonna let me in, but she did.
I did, because I love you.
Let me tell.
All
I
right,
have
keep
missed
talking.
seeing you in person. I have missed seeing you in person. So this is cool.
Okay, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
You haven't had to deal with the board in a while. Making sure my headphone works and my microphone.
Yeah, yeah. And then we got Willie. What's up, Willie? How you doing, sir? Willie, can you hear me?
Willie, can you hear me?
Yeah.
You don't want me singing, Willie. Don't want me singing. Nothing good comes.
Is it?
Okay, we can hear you now.
How is it that you and Kate can see each other's beautiful faces, but I can't see her beautiful face?
I put my camera on so you can see me.
All right, then and we all good. What's going on, Clevelanders, Northeast
we
Ohioans?
we
There,
doing good.
there she is. There she is.
Headset on, messing up my hair. I got priorities. I got hair worried. Gotta worry about my hair.
All right, guys. So this was an exciting weekend last weekend. So it was super awesome. The NFL draft took place, which is for some people, it's like a second Super Bowl. You're going to find out who your team is going to get. And, based on those players, will they be able to benefit your team or not? So, Willie, before we get into the Cleveland Browns draft, what grade would you give? What grade would you give to your Raiders?
I would give my Raiders a wait a minute. I would give my Raiders a B plus.
Okay, a B plus.
Yes, I will give my Raiders a B plus because I love what we did with getting Mr. Tyrell from Texas Tech with the number 7 overall pick. I'm so glad that we did not pull Will Levis because no one seems to be sold on that cat. I'm very happy the fact that we got the best tight end prospect out of Notre Dame to pair him with Austin Hooper, who you guys know very well.
Is that
Um,
Mayor?
huh? Yeah,
Mayor,
mayor.
he's
Yeah,
a beast.
the mayor. And
Yeah, I talked to him at the combine. He's a beast in person.
yeah, and
Definitely built like a tight end.
I feel like that Josh McDaniels
Hmm.
and Mr. Ziegler may actually have a little bit of knowledge in what they're trying to do because I'm thinking back to the days of Aaron Hernandez, God rest his soul, and Rob Gronkowski in New England when they had those two tight ends. And with Hooper and this kid out of Notre Dame, it could be similar to a lot of that. And we got the kid, I think he's from Oregon State. No. Cincinnati. Speed to burn. And that's something that we need as well to take the top off the defense since there is no more Henry Ruggs the third. Now, you get a quarterback out of Purdue in the 4th round, which we know what they've done in New England with late round quarterbacks. There's this dude by the name of Tom Brady that played under Ziegler and McDaniels. And so we'll see. So I'm very happy about those 3 picks. And then we picked up a couple of other defensive players, cornerback here and there. So I think the Raiders get a B plus.
Okay, good. Hopefully that will translate into some more wins for you guys.
Yes, it will, but I don't know when.
Well, usually they say, you can appropriately grade your draft and the players or, reach their peaks. Well, not reach their peaks, but you'll see what you got 3 to 4 years later down the line. So we'll see in 3 to 4 years.
It ain't gonna take that long. It ain't gonna take that long.
For them to be developed under Josh McFraud.
McDaniels. You do not have the authority to call him that.
Why? You
Because you're
did.
not.
I
You
know, but who's quarterbacking for you?
tell him, Rachel.
Oh, I know who it is. It's just Jimmy G. Am I right?
Yeah,
Is he gonna
yeah.
be able to stay healthy and
She
actually
know.
on the field? That's why I'm asking. Who's your backup plan?
She
Your backup
knows.
plan.
She knows why I said that.
Look at her.
Look at her.
Swoon.
She got butterflies flying around her head.
I sure do. You know, I love me some Jimmy
2P30
G.
can't stay healthy. So I
Huh?
call him 2P30. So I
Oh,
can remember how to spell it. There's 3 O's.
yeah. I love him.
I hope he's healthy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
and
he'll be healthy.
that's the big thing. I mean, we did pick up an offensive lineman in the draft as well. So
Mhm.
if that dude can, and the thing with Jimmy is that he gets injured outside of the pocket, not really because of hits. So I think McFraud. I mean, I keep calling that dude McFraud. I need to get out of that. That's last year. That's old. That's old news. Let me go ahead and not do that. I think McDaniels, in the familiarity that they have with one another, is going to be a noted and market change in terms of how he plays the quarterback position, specifically from the pocket. I think you're going to see a lot of quick throws like they did with Tom Brady. Um, so I think that some people out there, to include myself, we may be selling Jimmy a little short.
But your point is valid. He is much more effective if he can stay in the pocket, and he's had issues with offensive linemen and trust in the past. If you can protect him and let him trust that you're going to protect him, then he can stay in the pocket. But he's got to get rid of that ball quicker.
Yes, and that's what they do in a Josh McDaniels offense.
It is, but if they're going to be running a 2 tight end set, he's going to need a little more time. So that's where you gotta balance that with the quick, maybe some bubble screens or some quick play action with the 2 tight end set.
Right. Well,
Okay.
but I believe that what they ran in New England with Hernandez and Gronkowski with Brady, you had Wes Welker there, and then a bunch of really no-name receivers. But now McDaniels with these 2 tight ends, he's got a better plethora of weapons in Las Vegas than he ever did in New England, in my opinion, outside of Tom Brady.
Fair, but one of the advantages to the way Bill Belichick did that with his Patriots team is you didn't have any big names. So that means you also didn't have any big egos. And Tom Brady would throw to whoever was catching. From a fantasy football standpoint, it was a nightmare because you never knew which guy to play week to week. One of them would have 1 catch and the other one would have 12. He would pick whoever he could pick. And as soon as they started catching, until the defense took it away, that's where he would go. And you can do that with no-name guys because, like I said, they ain't got no egos. If Hooper's as good there as he's been, if he's still got some juice in the tank, and this Mayer kid turns out to be really good, what you don't need is a locker room of guys complaining that they're not getting the ball. I ain't getting my touches. I ain't getting my quarter. I'm not getting my touchdowns. I need my bonus money based on whatever. They just need to distribute the ball all around and get it done.
Yeah, but there's nobody in that locker room that has an ego like that. Devontae doesn't have an ego like that. Josh doesn't have an ego like that. Hunter Renfrow definitely doesn't have an ego like that. So that really is the least of my concerns. And with Josh Jacobs being franchised, he's going to have something to prove if they do not get a long-term deal done by July the 15th. Hunter Renfrow already got his deal. And Devontae, of course, we know is the 3rd highest paid receiver in the league, if I'm not mistaken, and probably a top 3 receiver at that. So you don't get to the status that he's at by being an egomaniac. That was reserved for his former quarterback in Green Bay.
No, that's true. That's all fair. Speaking of getting paid, I thought it was hilarious and maybe a brilliant PR move for the Baltimore Ravens to pay Lamar right before the draft started.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Antonio Brown tweeting pictures about how he coming back to the Ravens is just proof to me that he's still crazy. He's still crazy. The boy's talented and crazy. Lord. But that was a nice move by the Ravens. All the eyes were on Lamar in Baltimore.
I'm glad that they finally worked something out because it was just, became this big soap opera and drama series. And I'm just glad that, like I said, I don't root for the Ravens at all, but I root for Lamar personally, just because what he endured prior to his draft and things like that. So I always root for him. So I'm glad that, even though he isn't, getting all the guaranteed money that Deshaun Watson's getting, he's getting a lot.
He's getting a lot.
Yeah. So he be all right.
He'll be fine.
He'll be
Don't
all right.
cry for him. I'm glad he got paid. He deserves it for the work he's done. So
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
now let's talk about my Browns draft.
But hold
Did
on,
you see
Willie.
my Browns
Willie
draft,
just
Willie?
said,
I'm skipping right over that. Did you see my Browns draft, Willie?
Yeah, I saw some of the players that you guys got.
Not bad considering we didn't have a pick in the first or second round.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a couple websites gave us like a C in the
Mm-hmm.
first round and second round, saying that we didn't pick anybody, that we traded away our picks for Deshaun, and that the value we would have gotten from people we could have drafted outweighs what we got from Deshaun. I was proud of the fact that we didn't do anything crazy and try to move back into those rounds. We took our lumps. We waited till the third round. We got some very nice players. I'm very happy with who they're bringing in, especially Cedric Tillman. I talked to him at the combine, and I love that kid. So I'm excited about that. I thought they did just fine. Them Houston Texans are crazy. Crazy like a fox crazy.
Yeah.
And them and the Eagles drafted half the Georgia team. They're going to change their name, I heard, to the Philadelphia Bulldogs here at some point. And
Actually,
the
it's
Texans
gonna
making
be
a statement.
Actually, it's going to be the University of Georgia Eagles.
Oh, is that what it's going to be? Okay. For a while, we had more LSU players than non-LSU players, so I get where that makes sense. But this is the first time in my memory that a team has taken so many players from the same defense, especially being a championship defense. Those guys will work really well together. But the Texans, for me, was the biggest story of the draft. Just the statement they made, going all out, trading, taking CJ at 2 and then trading back up to get Will Anderson at 3. It, in a lot of ways, reminded me of our draft back in 2016 where we took Baker 1 and Denzel 4. We got the best offensive and allegedly defensive player on the board. Denzel just can't stay healthy, but that's a whole hour we could do on that. But for them to trade what they did, I found it a little bit offensive because what they traded to go back in and get Will Anderson at 3 was not our pick that we gave them for next year. It was their own pick, which means they think our pick is going to be higher because they think our team's going to be worse next year than they are. And I don't know. I don't know if Houston can turn it around in 1 year, but they definitely, made a statement that they're trying to change the rep of what's been going on down there. So I wish them luck. I don't know if that'll do it, but Rachel and I are going to watch CJ, aren't we?
Yes,
We're
absolutely.
going to keep an eye on
So I'll be
CJ.
and the friend of a show.
Carolina Panthers are going to rue the day they took Bryce Young instead of CJ. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and a friend of our show, Jonathan Wells, who played for Ohio State, was in Houston. I guess he's doing more with the team that he got drafted to, and he has a pick with CJ, so former Buckeyes and, current Buckeyes. So, that's very exciting. So I'm very happy for him. I wish he would have went number 1, but he didn't. But he'll have the opportunity to show that, he could have went number 1. So, it is what it is. So I'm happy for him.
They'll have a little rivalry, I'm going to guess, going on when the Texans play the Panthers. There might be a little bit of some of that going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're not going to play each other that often, but it'd be good to see 1 versus 2. So so super happy for him. Great for the Ohio State program. Do you know how many Buckeyes were drafted in this draft?
A lot.
Okay.
A lot. And then I saw yesterday a list of some of the undrafted free agents that have already been signed to come in, and quite a few on there. So I was super happy. Paris got taken in the first round.
Okay.
Jackson, Smith, and Jigba got taken. Just a lot of the names. I wasn't sure when they'd go. Went a lot earlier than I expected them to. So I don't know the numbers. I know we had more players drafted than the SEC in the first round. But a lot of talent in the Big Ten this year coming out of Purdue, Illinois, Penn State, just a lot, Michigan, obviously, but a lot more teams having guys getting drafted out of the Big Ten than you see, at least in the first 3 rounds. You don't usually think of Illinois as a football school, but they got some talent on that team. So And those gentlemen are now in the NFL.
Well, Chris Styles hate when I say that, but Illinois almost beat Michigan, so it is what it is. We got some comments before we go to break really quickly. Mickey says, "Hi, Mickey. Hi, everyone," and he shared the show. Marshawn Powers, friend of the show,
What
co-host
up,
with us.
G?
Hey, Marshawn said the Eagles messed up drafting all those Georgia players. Look back at their last two drafts. They hit on two guys a year. This was a look good draft after blowing the Super Bowl. Then he also says the Browns and Lions had great drafts. Browns got a monster 3-tech D tackle, a backup QB, and a freak UDFA from Utah. Browns are up. And he said more Maryland players were drafted than OSU.
Wait, what?
I don't know. I watched a lot of talented kids playing in some games last year, so I'm gonna have to go back and look through and get my counts in for my favorite schools and then each of the different conferences just to see. I haven't had time. I went out Thursday to Kansas City, was at the draft Thursday and Friday, did some sightseeing on Saturday, came home Sunday, so I just haven't had time to really dig into that sort of aftermath and look at the numbers for the draft. So you got to take a break or we're late.
Yeah, we're about to take a break.
I'll just be talking.
We'll be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. If you turn down your volume, if you turn it down, he can still hear you and see you. The sound, if you turn down the sound on your phone, he can still hear you and see you. But it's getting an echo back from the show.
It's all the way down. I don't know how I muted my microphone.
For every athlete, for every care in the world. Schedule your care today at clevelandclinic.org/access.
Hey, she got it on her phone and she got the mute all the way down. Kate is on, but we still hearing like the show on her phone.
I can just get off my phone. I don't know why it's not letting me.
Don't cut him up. Don't cut that up. See, you ain't hearing it.
Nursing degree
You cut it
at
up, you can hear
Tri-C.
it. Start now at try-c.edu. This message was brought to you by WOVU 95.9 FM at Burton Bear Car Community Radio Station. Yo, what up? You already know what it is. Your boy DJ Christos. Yo, I got some important information to give you. Are you a resident living in a rental property or landlord of rental properties within the city of Cleveland? Have you heard about the lead safe prevention efforts in Cleveland? Do you have questions about lead poisoning and why prevention is important? Don't know where to start? Don't know where to get help? Well, there's good news. There's training that is perfect for you, and the Lead Safe Resource Center is here to help answer all your questions. This training presents information on the Lead Safe Cleveland Coalition, the resources and teams available to support you, along with great information on who, what, when, where, and why for all things lead poisoning and prevention. And listen up, there's more. If you register now, you're eligible to receive a gift card. Yep, there's one gift card per adult attendee. Those interested can sign up via Eventbrite or by calling the
Kate, do you know Rockville?
Center at
Rockville, Kate. I'm sorry. I was like, have they met each other before?
601-5323 and ask for Ashley Dunn. Thank you for listening to WOVU 95.9 FM. A Burton Bell Car community radio station.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. Remember, you can keep it locked here on your regular radio dial and listen to us via radio. You can also listen to us online at WOVU.org. Don't forget to download that OVU app, and you can listen to us on the go. And then you can always give us a call at 216-271 0959. There are some days I remember, other days I'm like, okay, what's those numbers again? So I am here with Willie Epting Jr. and I'm here with Cleveland Kate. So Cleveland Kate is in studio with me. So excited to have her here today. And I guess we're going to go ahead and hit our Cleveland Browns draft. So player number 1 is Cedric Tillman, drafted number 74 in the 3rd round. He is 6'3", 213 pounds, and he is a wide receiver, which we desperately need to add to that wide receiver room. So, Kate, you go first. What do you think about this pick?
Oh, I love him. I had a chance to talk to him at the combine. I thought he was smart. I thought he had the right build. I thought he's got great hands. And so he was sort of on my list of people to kind of keep an eye on. So when I heard that the Browns drafted him, I was super excited first that I actually had heard of the person they drafted, because Lord knows what they're going to do. Andrew Berry and his analytics and his numbers. Half the time when he drafts people, it's not anybody we ever heard of. And I sort of have a soft spot in my heart for Tennessee. I watched a lot of volunteer football last year. They beat Alabama. We all love that from them. So I did see him play. I saw a lot of him, a lot of Jalen Hyatt, Anthony Thompson Richardson, saw a lot of them playing last year. So I was kind of excited that we were getting someone on our team who can not only catch the ball, but who's been in big games, who's been in games that have had, it may not have been the national championship game, but it felt like it. And it was funny because when I was talking to a lot of those guys at the combine, I asked him what was their, favorite moment of college. And he's like, beating Bama. Like, for those things to mean something to them, that's the kind of guy I want on my team, because I wanted to say that when he beats Pittsburgh. I want him to say that when we beat Baltimore, when we beat Cincinnati. I want them to feel that I want them to know it feels better when you beat certain teams over other teams.
They got cooked against Georgia, though, didn't they?
Yeah. I think they shot their wad. They laid it all out like it was a Super Bowl. And I don't know that anybody was going to – I was almost glad I don't want to play Georgia. Please don't make me play Georgia. And then we're in, and then we're playing Georgia, and I'm like, Lord, don't nobody want to just let Georgia have the championship and let everyone play for second and third.
Then we was kicking their butt, and the officials had to make sure that Georgia got back into the game. So,
oh Lord.
I'm not even scared of anybody anymore. I'm letting my Buckeyes take on everybody because, they showed that they wasn't scared. They were ready to go. They were actually a prepared team. I don't know what happened against Michigan, but, they were able to correct a lot of things that went wrong against Michigan. And unfortunately, at the very end, our clock situation wasn't good. Our kicker, who had been super duper reliable all season long, shanked it. And, it was just a crazy situation, but they should have won that game. And we easily would have had a national championship. So
no,
ECU.
No.
Why not?
No. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. Counts. Close only counts in hand grenades and horseshoes.
And nuclear weapons. But
nuclear weapons. I haven't heard that one before.
He's a slot receiver, which we need. He was lined up opposite Jalen Hyatt. So, he knows how to draw defenders. He didn't have as good a season last year as he did in 2021 because he had an ankle injury that was bothering him off and on, but he had 1,000 yards the year before, which is not easy to do in that division, playing against the kind of defenses that he faced. So I am super optimistic that, along with Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, if he might be able to form that relationship with Deshaun that we complained about last year. Like, who's his whoopee? Who's his go-to guy? He hadn't been here long enough, didn't have enough reps to really have that go-to receiver. And so, there'll be a lot of them in training camp and stuff this year trying to be that guy that Deshaun connects with.
I think it'll be a little bit more organic because he's not coming from another team and he wasn't here before. So I think that'll give them a chance to build their own bond. Also, you're getting a tough receiver who has some strength, has a little bit of height. We're always throwing to receivers that are like 5'10", 5'11". So, you got a little height with him and DPJ how you want to split them and depending on. So Tillman had 417 yards and 3 touchdowns on 37 receptions last year. Not the best numbers, but his game could translate to the NFL. So I'm super excited what he could bring because we were struggling trying to find wide receivers, somebody for Deshaun Watson to throw to. So this makes me wonder, what's going to happen with this rushing game? Are we going to abandon the rush and throw the ball? Or, does Nick Chubb have value to this team still or what? So that's one of the things that we'll see how it plays out with Kevin Stefanski's play calling. What do you think about that pick coming from the SEC, Willie?
I think Tennessee probably had the best duo of receivers, at least in the SEC for sure. Maybe in all of college football with Hyatt and this kid. I'm gonna tell you guys. I said the SEC. I said the SEC.
Okay.
Ohio State.
You said the country though.
I said the SEC and possibly the country. The SEC,
but that's not right.
The SEC for sure. Since you want to get all jazzy, let me tell you about this kid though that neither one of you guys have mentioned so far. Is David Njoku still on that team?
Mm-hmm.
I think now with this guy and Njoku, you have a viable, real red zone tandem with these two, with Njoku and this guy. 6'3", 225 pounds.
Yep.
He can box some people out on the goal line or at the sticks or whatever. So that is going to bode very well for Deshaun Watson, in my opinion. I don't think he's ever really had a receiver like that since DeAndre Hopkins got traded to the Cardinals. But even with this kid is bigger than Hopkins. So that may bode well for you guys in the red zone. When you talk about the running game and will it be abandoned, is Kareem Hunt still there?
No.
Where did he end up going? To Miami?
Ain't he a free agent, right?
Oh, he's a free agent. He hasn't signed with anybody yet.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So
he's still here until somebody else picks him up. He's just kind of, but they've made
hanging
it clear that he's not part of their plans.
But he's not under contract though right now.
Correct.
Okay, so he's a free agent, unrestricted free agent. And who's going to be the backup for Nick Chubb? Is it going to be DeErnest?
What's that guy's name that we drafted last year? I can't remember his name because it's not David Bell. David Bell is a wide receiver. I can't remember. That's a great question. Kate, you looking that up?
I'm looking it up because now you got me thinking.
So has Nick Chubb lost anything out of the tank? Surely y'all don't think that, do you?
No. Nick just fine. Nick's doing just fine. Ain't nothing wrong with Nick Chubb.
Okay, good. So look out for the Browns offensively. I hate to say it because Amari Cooper, he's going to disappoint you again.
Jerome Ford.
I knew it was I'm thinking Hill, Smith, Ford.
Yeah.
Jerome
Ford is the backup for Nick Chubb.
Yeah. Okay. So Amari Cooper will disappoint you once again.
I don't know if he disappointed me this season.
He didn't disappoint me at all.
Okay.
Got some comments. George says the draft is 3-day theater for the NFL. In my mind, it is playing on the craps table and trying to roll 7 with the picks the team makes. Cleveland, talk to me in 3 years or who makes or misses with their picks. Also, hello to the entire panel. Hoping you're all doing well. Mickey says he can't remember which one was Rachel, which one was Kate. Mickey, I am Rachel. Kate is the blonde.
So curly hair.
Yeah, it's a little blondish or whatever. So George also says, Georgia escaped against Ohio State. That was a national championship game against Alabama. That was SEC practice. And George says the SEC on the wideouts from Tennessee were comparable in the country. Go down I-71 South for the best. For Cincinnati. Then All Sports All Plays Network says when Harrison Jr. got hurt in the Georgia game, that made a big difference. If Jackson Smith and Jigba would have played, he would have also made a difference with Harrison and Ibuka.
Yeah.
But as a Cowboys fan, I wasn't entirely crushed when Cooper was traded. Just wish we got more for him. Tony.
Tony. Who's Tony? Tony the Tiger
Tony, our producer.
or Tony Romo?
Tony
Tony Romo's our producer. Nah. And you know what? Maybe the change of scenery from Dallas to Cleveland may have done Amari some good. I had it on a pretty good source that before he was actually traded, that he already knew what was coming down because of his $20 million a year salary. And that dude to me has always been just like a mystery. When he's there, he's one of the best receivers. I think he's a top 12 receiver when he's engaged, but when he's not engaged, you might as well just go ahead and find somebody else to put that uniform on and see what happens. Now, I have a question for you Ohio Staters out there, right?
Yes. We're ready to answer.
Okay, so who was your last quarterback that just got drafted?
CJ Stroud.
Who was the quarterback before that?
There's a long and distinguished list. Justin
No,
Fields.
the one right before Stroud. Dwayne
She
Haskins.
said Justin.
Was that Justin Fields?
It was Justin Fields.
Justin Fields. And then before that, it was Dwayne Haskins. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So the players that you guys have had, particularly on offense, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Jackson Smith and Jimba. Why haven't the Ohio State Buckeyes been able to win a national championship with all those pro players?
It's not that easy to win a national championship.
I didn't ask if it was easy to win a national championship or not. I said, why haven't Ohio State been able to win?
Here's the thing. How come, when you look at Alabama, especially their quarterbacks and some of their talented position players, they don't fare well in the NFL either. I think there's a translation issue that for you to play well in the NFL, it doesn't always mean you come from a team that's winning the national championship. Go all the way back to Tim Tebow and what he was able to do for Florida and then what happened to him in the NFL. Just because you've got that kind of talent doesn't mean you're going to work it. It's going to work in both of the leagues. So I think we've had some unbalanced issues, I will say. Our teams have not always been balanced. Our team will roll through a season and then get to tough competition, and there's not enough balance between offense and defense for them to overcome the matchups that they're dealing with in the playoffs. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is ours for one more year. And then we'll start hearing about how he needs to go to the Colts, and that's who's going to want to draft him and all that stuff at the end of this year because he's a legacy. I was excited when Pittsburgh took Joey Porter Jr. I thought it was very interesting that who went to the Cardinals? Joey Porter went to the Steelers, and there was someone who went to the Arizona Cardinals in the same draft 25 years ago. And this year, their kids, Joey Porter Jr., and I can't think of the other guy's kids, were both drafted by the same teams that drafted their dads. It's going to bug me.
And not only that, there's a scout with the Dallas Cowboys,
Yes.
whose son was
Vaughn.
drafted. Yeah, Deuce Vaughn. And they let the father call the son and say, he was like, yo, you ready to come work with me? And then the son started crying, and then he started crying.
He was crying. They were showing the reaction in the room. Of course, Jerry Jones sitting there like a statue, and everyone else was just, you could feel the emotions in that room when they said to him, now it was the end of the 7th round. All right. But there are teams who don't make that kind of a move, who don't give one of their own a shot. And I tell you what, Deuce Vaughn will work harder for the Cowboys than he would have worked for any other team to try to make that roster to make his dad proud.
He might be a star player. Got some more comments. Honestly, OSU's weakness has been for defense. We saw it even in the semifinal of the CFP against Georgia. Offensively, OSU is one of the best, but defensively, they've been lacking for a while. And Eric Nanaron says, it comes down to coaching. Ryan Day is never going to win a championship. Let me see.
I love Ryan Day. Don't be dissing Ryan.
He said, who was Kurt? Was it Kurt Warner?
Kurt Warner what?
Yes.
with
son.
the
Oh,
Cardinals.
oh yeah. Cade Warner from the wide receiver
Cade.
from Kansas State.
Yep, his son got drafted by the
Thanks,
Cardinals.
Eric.
Thank you. I knew it was somebody. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. You are listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We will be right back.
Still in our community, and your health matters to Neighborhood Family Practice. They can help you prevent COVID or other health issues like diabetes, HIV,
Pittsburgh
or high blood
drafting.
pressure. Their providers take the time to know you and
Because Ohio State,
understand your
Cleveland
health
won't go
needs
into his
and
own
the health
backyard.
needs of your entire family. They accept Medicaid and have openings for new patients.
Is
Neighborhood
it
Family
Siaki
Practice
Ika?
takes care of patients no matter their ability to pay. Call today at 216-2810-872 or log on to nfpmedcenter.org. That's nfpmedcenter.org. Your health matters to Neighborhood Family Practice.
This message is brought to you by Neighborhood Family Practice and 95.9 FM WOVU. Our Voices United. Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Do you rent your home? Do you have
How does it
questions
feel to
about
be
your
back?
rights and responsibilities as a tenant? Call the Legal Aid
Huh?
Society's tenant information at 216-861-5955 anytime. State
I
your
know.
name, phone number,
I
and
am the
description of
producer.
your housing question. A Legal Aid housing specialist will return your call within 2 business days between 9 a.m.
I had no
and 5
choice in
p.m.,
the matter.
Monday through Friday. Again, that number is 216-861-5955. Call the Legal Aid Tenant Information Line at 216-861-5955. Any day, anytime.
This message is brought to you by the Legal Aid Society and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr Community Radio station.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
All right, welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU and 95.9 FM. We're discussing the Cleveland Browns draft picks, a little bit of OSU as well. And Nathan McWirt says Texas Tech had problems drafting, having QBs that went to Super Bowl. Then Patrick Mahomes came along. So, yeah, lots going on with that. But, you know, it seems like Kansas City Chiefs hit on that draft pick. So, all right, draft pick number 2, Siaki Ika. And he's from Baylor. He's a defensive tackle. He was picked number 98 in the 3rd round, and he is 6'3", 335 pounds. So he is a whopper. So we needed to add some beef next to Dalvin Tomlinson on to the defensive interior. And he's going to be a person that's going to challenge Jordan Elliott, Tristan Hill, and Maurice Hurst for the job next to Tomlinson. So he was an LSU transfer and played the last few years at Baylor. So how long has Joe been in the league? Because I'm wondering if he would have won a national championship with Joe Burrows.
This is Joe's 4th year coming up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I like this guy. He ran a 5.39 40-yard dash, which frankly ain't no defensive tackle running 40 yards. Right. But his 10-yard split was under 2 seconds, which is what you want. I want a guy who can get from the line into the backfield after the quarterback in 2 seconds. And I like that. He's quick on his feet for someone who weighs 335 pounds.
That's a whopper right there.
At 6'3", he is a mountain of a man. I will take that all day, every day.
Wider than all outside.
I'm just saying.
Wider than all outside. That's what Chris Tucker said on Friday.
Yeah, that's right, baby.
Look, this kid
what you want, fat boy?
Yeah. This kid has played at the top of the competition chain in 2 of the more elite conferences in the United States, with the LSU being in the SEC and with Baylor being in the Big 12 with that has 10 teams. It's the Big 12, brother. So when you think about it from that standpoint, and then the Baylor Bears, who were really left for dead after the whole Art Briles fiasco, winds up in the Big 12 championship game 2 years ago where they won by the skin of their teeth. And then last year they had a very good season as well. So this kid is going to provide some beef up front for the Browns. And I don't know what y'all's rank was last year against the run, but if it was anywhere in the bottom
Terrible.
15,
Yeah.
if it was anywhere in the bottom 15, look for that to
28.
turn around pretty quickly with this dude on the roster.
Well, and we got Jim Schwartz as our new defensive coordinator. I'm sure to me, the pick meant that Jim's got a lot of voice in what he wants this defense to be and what he already looking at what he needs. This is a very good choice for us. He will be a run stopping fiend. To get him at pick, what was it, 98?
Mhm.
For someone who was, in my opinion, he was a top 10 ranked defensive tackle at the combine. I think he came in 7th in all of the drills and stuff that they did. So he was still there for us at 98, and that we went wide receiver, right, with our pick 74, which is important. You got to do that. And then to go defense and to go defensive tackle, I think is what Jim Schwartz is going to do, is try to fix our short the trench.
Mhm.
We got some talent still at corner and safety. We
Yeah.
got Miles edge rushing. We got all of that going on. We got problems in the trenches, and it made me feel good to realize that Jim Schwartz realizes that we got problems in the middle, and he got me someone that's going to help with blocking the run, especially when I got to play Lamar twice a year.
Mhm. Yeah.
Last year, we made an awful lot of running backs look like, Super Bowl MVPs.
I think
that game was it. The Falcons, Marcus Mariota completed 5 passes the entire day. They ran all over us like we were carpet. So
that was the worst. I'm embarrassed.
I also want to thank you. I also want to thank the Browns defense for helping Josh Jacobs to win the rushing title this past season.
Shut up, Willie. What you want, fat boy? Some chili cheese Fritos.
It's my money, mama.
Oh, in the 4th round, we got our first homer pick of the day. Ohio State offensive tackle Dwan Jones.
Woo-hoo.
I like that pick. A lot. Later, we got their center, Luke Whippler, and I like that too. And we got him in round 6. But we got a couple Buckeyes that I don't think people knew their names. Rachel and I did, because we actually, if you watch Buckeyes football, you knew who they were. You don't have to watch Buckeyes football to know who CJ Stroud was, or Jackson, or some of the other guys. We Ronnie Hickman, we signed undrafted free agent. We got him for nothing afterwards. So we got a couple guys a couple trench guys that are going to come in really handy from there. I'm happy with that. So I like the Dwan Jones pick.
And with a lot of injuries that we had, last season, it's good, to have some backup. Now, they didn't pick a linebacker, which I was really shocked about that, considering all the issues that we had at linebacker last year. But maybe they feel like they can get some undrafted ones and maybe get some through free agency. Because, I think it's something like that rare that every linebacker you has go down. So let's hope that was something that was very rare.
Yeah, he's 6'8", 374.
Ooh, that's a big boy.
He's a building.
5 inches and 40 pounds. He can't block you. He can't block and keep his quarterback safe. Then I don't know what he's doing here.
My God.
As big as this kid is, right? 6'8", 374. What would be the major concern with him being able to perform at the next level in the NFL? His footwork, being able to, he's a tackle, so he's going to have to go up against the lights of in that division. Who? You've got J.J. Watt. You've got the kids from the guys from Cincinnati on either side. You've got I can't think of his name for the Ravens, but y'all know what I'm saying. When you have these tackles that are this big, the concern becomes, will they be able to get out there and affect those DNs coming off that edge?
So he's not the most athletic dude. If you can get by him, you can get a lot of holding calls. I already see it now. You can get by him. You're going to have to work on his footwork to make sure he's planting and setting and taking 2 guys with him, because they're going to come at him. That was the biggest knock on him, is that, he's a work in progress. He's going to need some scheme help. If you're grooming him to be the next stud right tackle, I don't know if he'll get there, but at least for a little while, he will be a very large way to plug a hole.
Yeah, whether or not he can be fast or not at 374 pounds, we might as well round it up to 375.
Hey, Hey, Kate, have you heard anything about him possibly having to move to guard?
So they list him just as an offensive tackle because they've been doing it. We talked about this last week or the week before on the podcast, is the number of tackles and guards that are moving in and out, that are moving back and forth, depending on size, depending on athleticism, depending on footwork, depending on the defensive scheme and who they're playing, what they're seeing on the defenses that they have to play in their division. So like, if I got to play a couple of these kind of defenses 2, 3, 4 times a year, I'm going to move you over to guard and let you learn that position. And because of all the injuries, you've got guards moving over to tackle because somebody's out, and the idea is it's better to have a new guy on the outside edge than in the middle, So there has been a lot of this going on in the NFL already, of tackles and guards kind of flipping back and forth. I don't know that he's our future Joe Thomas, but I do know that when you are 12 years old and you are already 6 feet tall, he's had plenty of time to learn how to live with being that tall. It didn't just happen in high school. Like, you see a lot of guys who shoot up a foot in high school, and it takes them a while to figure out their body. And then Rachel and I talk all the time about players getting into the NBA, and their second and third years in the NBA, they put on like 20, 30 pounds, and it takes them a while to figure out how to control their body with that added weight. I don't think that'll be his problem. I think he has been big long enough. It's just going to be about coaching and schemes to help cover up for any deficiencies while he's learning how to deal with NFL defenses coming at him.
George has a comment. The Browns linebackers are like Ravens running backs. They all end up on IR. So that's true. Hey, Ricky, what's up?
Ricky's corrected me. He said TJ Watt. I guess I said JJ Watt.
They're interchangeable.
Yeah, it's okay. They're brothers, at the end of the day, it's quite all right.
They're going to both be in the Hall of Fame.
Speaking of left tackles, Jedrick Wills was his option was picked up for $14 million. I've not been impressed with him. I was hoping that maybe they would draft a left tackle and maybe let Jedrick go back to maybe right tackle, which is, what he was known for, what he came out of college as. But unfortunately, that didn't happen, and they picked up his option. And there was just too many sacks that was allowed. What was that one game where we gave up 9 sacks? Yeah. I can't remember which one that was. In Chicago, we got 9 sacks, on Justin, but, we gave them up ourselves later in the year. So it was pretty bad. So, he's back for another couple years with us. So maybe, work with Bill Callahan and some new draft picks. Maybe he can kind of get some, an idea how to do his job and how to do it better. So that'll be interesting. But they did pick up the option on Jedrick Wills today. So
good.
Man, it's time for another break.
Last break of the day.
I know, last break of the day. We're going to come right back because what happened is we'll probably finish tomorrow, but I want to get a little Cleveland Cavaliers in. And the Cleveland Guardians are playing the Yankees tonight in Yankee Stadium. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Her in the Huddle.
About the Guardians. Just depressing.
On WOVU WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Healing Center is the first and only clinic for Black women in Cuyahoga County, connecting Black patients with Black providers. Our culturally sensitive-based approach to healthcare decreases racial disparities and provides Black women access to the healthcare they deserve. The Village of Healing Center serves pregnant and non-pregnant women and all their women's health and mental health care needs, including annual exams, pregnancy and postpartum care, menopause concerns, and mental health therapy. Visit villageofhealingcle.com. That's villageofhealingcle.com or call 216-815-4325 to make an appointment today. This message is brought to you by the Village of Healing Center and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United. Burton Bell Carr Community Radio.
Who birthday? Who birthday? Who birthday? Who birthday? It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. Oh yeah.
What's up? It's DJ Lily Jade from the Lily Jade Show. And I just want to wish 95.9 FFWU a happy 5th anniversary.
The real song is good.
Keep up the good work.
It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. It's your birthday. Oh yeah.
You're rocking with DJ Lily Jade on the Lily Jade Show.
Welcome back.
You so
to Her in
crazy.
the Huddle
I
with
missed you.
Rachel Hill,
Did
the
DJ
first
Crystal
lady
see you?
of sports.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports. And I'm here with Cleveland Kate and Willie Epting Jr. today. And we'll finish our draft talk tomorrow on tomorrow's show. But I wanted to get a little bit into the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I thought that they were going to be able to beat the New York.
It was a terrible matchup. It was a terrible matchup. You and I talked about how they went 1-3 against them in the regular season. We were complaining at the end of the year that they weren't doing more to try to catch the 76ers so they could have been matched up against Brooklyn. It was a terrible matchup for this team. I don't even know who that was wearing Cavaliers uniforms in the playoffs because they did not play the basketball that I had watched them play all year.
Mm-hmm.
I was glad they got knocked out because don't embarrass me by going deeper. Don't give me hope and then embarrass me. And then there's a whole lot of mess going on in the playoffs with what the Lakers are doing and everything else. I'm like, you know what? I'm glad I'm not involved. I just sit home and wait for football to start and watch baseball, which hadn't been good either. But it's early. It's early.
What do you think about why are you rolling your eyes, Willie?
Because I missed the dance.
Yes, you did.
I missed the dance. I see Ricky talking like, get it, Rachel. Go Cleveland Kate. Get crunk, y'all. We need a booth review.
Flag on the play.
No, I think we hit it on the head, and Kate just did so again, and we talked about it last week when this is just a bad matchup, and you can't have the best player on either team scoring only 2 points in the second half of a pivotal game 4 or whatever it was in New York City. This was just it was just a chicken kicking by the Knicks, man, and they go on and lose game 1 to the Miami Heat without Tyler Hero and without who else they had? They had somebody else out too, and then you have a resurgence from Kyle Lowry, who thought he was still at Villanova, I guess. But I still think the Cavs. Mickey says replay. I think the Cavs. I think the arrow is still pointing up. I think a decision is going to have to be made on a couple of those players,
absolutely,
because they have to get better shooting around 2 dudes that can actually penetrate and get to the cup, in Garland and Donovan Mitchell. And Donovan Mitchell's a more than a decent shooter, but that dude is not going to be able to do it all. And I really think he just kind of ran out of gas at the end of the series.
Don't make me believe in Okoro and LeVert and some of these other guys, and then they don't show up for the playoffs.
You believed in him.
I believed in. I believe. I need another drink before I can watch Okoro start in another NBA game.
Let me have one.
All right, it'll be Arnold Palmer, but that's okay. I thought he was over that hump and that it was clicking and he understood. And you were right and I was wrong. But I'm also not happy with JB and the coaching. Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of the mistakes that were made should have been handled with better coaching.
Yeah, I would say there were a lot of adjustments that weren't made because he said that, they adjusted to what New York did in game 1. So they were able to adjust to that and pull off the win in game 3. So I think, unfortunately, some players said that New York just wanted it more. And I appreciate them being honest, but why don't you want it too? Maybe they was we're not going to go far, but New
York Knicks trained pretty hard. He was pounding them like they were taking a beating from him and some other guys. I think it just shows we don't think of JB as being young. But he's only had this team for a couple years. He may have been around for a while, but he does not have playoff head coach experience. And I think he has as much to learn as some of these players do about how to win in the playoffs. So we'll see how he does next year.
I got a question for y'all.
You always have questions, Willie. We always answer them.
Yeah, I have a question for y'all. This is a good one though. Which fan base do you think is matter more or more matter? The Dallas Mavericks for getting Kyrie Irving, or the Cleveland Cavaliers for not really, the Cleveland Cavaliers for no, let me do it this way. Which franchise is more mad? The Nets for letting Kyrie no, that ain't it either. The New York Knicks with Jalen Brunson, is Dallas more mad, or are they more mad because they got Kyrie Irving from Brooklyn?
I think they're more mad because they got Kyrie. Because they bought into he just needs a change of environment and he'll be fine. And they did not believe me when I said, y'all are crazy.
Well, Dallas was in playoff contention as well. And then Kyrie came and they fell out of that. Yep. So I kind of be mad too. There's some more comments really quickly. George says, what are our thoughts about Chase Young and should the Browns go after him?
Yes.
He's hurt a lot though too.
I don't care.
So
my thoughts.
Mickey said no hockey talk. Mickey said, get out, Kate. Ricky Smith said, get it, Rachel. Go Cleveland, Kate. Get crunk, y'all. Mickey says Kate needs to dance again so Willie can see it. George says a little hockey talk. Boston choked. And then the Kraken, and Mickey said the Kraken moving towards round 2, which I think is awesome for it to be a new hockey team. So
I know, and I love hockey, but I went to a soccer match on Saturday, and I might make Rachel talk about the Columbus Crew next week.
Yeah, okay, we can talk about the Crew.
Maybe soccer talk.
And Ricky Smith said he heard Bickerstaff in post-game interviews. I wish he had been more accountable for this serious loss. He seemed to deflect it all towards the players.
Yep.
Can't do that. Cannot do that, especially when you have young players like that. You cannot do that.
Agreed.
Well, I think that some of those veterans, they were the ones talking about New York just wanted it more. I don't think the younger kids, like Darius Garland, really knew what to say.
I don't think they understand that the emotional boost you can get in the playoffs from your desire, your drive, your want. You can overcome a lot of talent. Not all the talent issues, but we've seen underdogs do well before. You see it in the March Madness tournaments. You see this team come out of nowhere and get deep. You see it in, every year there's that Appalachian State that beats Michigan, or somebody that they get up, that emotional lift gets them up and over a hurdle they should have never had any business beating on paper, right? So I don't think they understand the emotional value of that component of the playoffs. They'll get there. They're young, but I think before Willie asks, I think the leash is short for next year. I think fans understood this year going out in the first round. They will not understand that next year, and they will start getting nasty, especially if when they're out, I got the 13 and 15 Guardians to watch now. Quantrill's on the hill tonight. Quantrill on the hill.
5.4 ERA. I got another question. I do have another question. Okay. We're talking about the Boston Bruins, and I remember what Cedric the Entertainer said. We out there playing golf, polo, hockey, and then he said, I don't know about hockey, but we're going to talk about hockey. Bruins was an epic choke. They set a record for most points by any team in the history of that sport. Biggest choke job. Boston Bruins in the first round playoff upset, or the New England Patriots that went 16-0 and lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl? Which one is bigger?
Patriots went 16-0 and lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl.
Rachel, what you say?
I'd probably say the Boston Bruins. You breaking all those records. That's just like when the Columbus Blue Jackets beat Tampa Bay, who, they swept Tampa Bay, who was the number 1 seed in hockey a couple years ago. So I think probably the Bruins may be falling like that. I mean, it's hard though between the two of those.
Comparisons are difficult because
I don't know, y'all, because Tom Brady threw 50 touchdowns that year. Randy Moss caught 23 of them. Those were both records.
Right. But
I don't know.
what you see so you've got a whole lot more games in hockey than you do in the NFL. And if you're in a division or a conference that's fairly weak and you're beating people 4-1, 6-1, 7-2, and you're setting all these records, when you get to face good talent, it's not a surprise that you go down.
All right, Willie, that's our show for today. Cleveland Kate, happy to have you here in studio with us today.
Good to be back,
We got to get out of here, though. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM.